Today it's raining in Corfu. If you can see it, the snow-capped mountains mean it's also cold. That blows the air over from Albania across the top of the snow on the mountains and it gets cold. So what do you do when it gets cold? You put on the central heating. Now I've mentioned that my primary business is marine. I also do motor vehicle stuff. And I also dabble just a little bit in home automation. And the reason for that is when we moved out to the villa nearly, 18 months ago, I did a few upgrades, added a few systems, and some of the people have seen what we've done and they like the idea of some of the systems we've added. And they have a particular benefit for the owners of this house and the one next door. So, it's cold, we need heating. Here is the central heating thermostat fitted to this villa, and it is the same type that was fitted to my villa and the same type that's fitted to the villa next door. Now, as you can see, it's pretty basic. It doesn't even have a timer. So, today, when the owners get up, assuming they're here, which they're not, don't worry, they're going to have to go downstairs, they're going to have to hit the heating switch to turn the heating on. So, that's not really any good. I suppose for a holiday villa it's okay, but they're here 6 months a year, as are the people next door, including wintertime, so they want to upgrade. Various things you can do to upgrade. You can just buy a simple timer, mechanical timer, electronic, which was the norm certainly for UK households and central heating systems for many years in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Or you might want to go for one of the smart solutions. Now the obvious ones are, the heavily advertised ones are going to be a Nest Learning thermostat or the Hive version, and there's a couple more manufacturers now who do these smart systems. Great, they are in the region of £200 per unit. This house has a thermostat here, and it has one upstairs. It's a dual zone house. Our house was dual zone, and the house next door was dual zone. So if we were to do that in this house, that would be £200 here, £200 upstairs. In fact, they're more than that now. For example, Nest, I think they're 230 odd. Plus wiring, plus fitting, labour costs, hardware, bits and pieces. You're not going to get any change from €550. There is another way, and it is this one. Here is a Sonoff Basics R2 WiFi switch. Now, these are generic Wi-Fi switches. It's a line level switch, which means the output is a 240 volt output. I'll talk about that a bit later on. They're really designed for switching on kind of ceiling fans or interior or exterior lighting. But it's just a switch, so we can use it in any way that we can sort of imagine we can make it work. So in our house, I actually do have a Nest at our house, but that's because we got them in the Amazon Black Friday in the UK many years ago. But I do use the Sonoff R2s. I've got 4 of them. We've got driveway lights, garden lights, swimming pool lights, and swimming pool pump. So anything that can be switched. There is a significant advantage to using this. This costs €10. 10. We need 3 of them. We need one for the upstairs heating, one for the downstairs heating, and one for the hot water. €30. Then we're going to put in a box and some wiring and bits and pieces. €50. Even if you're going to pay me €100 labour to fit it, which you probably would, it's about a 3-hour job, €150 versus €500. Now obviously if you're going to fit it yourself, this video will help you understand how to do it, because it's really not difficult. It's quite a simple thing to do. So without further ado, let's go into the boiler room and see what's there. In the boiler room, and that is the existing control box for the boiler room. We've obviously got the main switch and then 3 relays, because we've got 3 circuits, 3 pumps. We've got upstairs heating and downstairs heating on those 2 pumps, and there's the hot water on that pump. So we are not going to fit another relay and those 3 Wi-Fi switches in that box. So I've bought another box, and that's going to sit quite nicely between those pipes there. The nice thing is we've already got some trunking, some conduit here. So we will just use that to run the cabling from here to here. Nice and easy. Let's drill some holes in a wall. In terms of the mechanical installation then, Ignore the pump that's in bits, so I've got problems with that as well, but that's nothing to do with this. In terms of the mechanical installation, it's very straightforward. We've got, this is an 8-module consumer unit box. The DIN rail sits there. These are not DIN mounted systems, so there's a self-tapping screw there and there, which you can't see, but I have just tapped into the back of the box, one top and bottom, and that holds them nicely against that rail. Drill holes in the wall, put your wall plugs and screws in, make sure there's nothing in the wall, blah 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 blah. Cut a hole in here, and I cut a corresponding hole in the trunking underneath, and then ran the cabling through to the existing control unit. I've got 2 buzz bars, one is neutral, that's perfectly standard. This one, normally you'd also have an earth buzz bar, but none of this needs an earth. It's all plastic, it's all double insulated, so I've actually used that as the line supply. We'll talk about what the wiring does and how it works in just a moment. You might notice if you stand back that it looks a little bit wonky compared to the trunking in the other unit. Well, if you look at my spirit level, you will see that my bit is nice and level, and in fact the trunking is not nice and level. I could have just sat it on top of the trunking, but I like to do things level, so my bit's right. That's it. Very simple. Some holes and some screws. Okay, so now you've seen the physical installation, the mechanical side of it, what we need to add to facilitate locating these things and wiring them in. I'm going to talk about or show you the wiring diagram and then show you how that translates into the wiring outside and how easy the actual electrical installation is. But before I do that, I touched earlier on the sort of advantages and disadvantages of this kind of kit. So I'll elaborate a little bit on when you want to use one of these and what it can and can't do. So the first thing is, this is not a Nest learning thermostat. It's a dumb switch. So there are a couple of things that Nest and Hive can do that this can't. Having said this is a dumb switch, it is a cloud-based system, and it will integrate with Alexa and Google, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the video about how that works. But the things that a Nest system, I know Nest particularly because I do actually have them in my villa. This is a switch, it is on and off. It can turn your heating on and off, and you're still reliant on the temperature that you set on the thermostat on the wall. With the Nest system, you have the ability to vary the temperature throughout the day. So Nest system doesn't actually turn your heating off like this would. What it will do, if you so desire, is lower the temperature during the night and raise it during the day. So in ours, we have a minimum of say 18 degrees overnight, and then come up to 20 degrees in the morning, and then drop back down again during the middle of the day, and then up again in the evening to warm the bedrooms up for the kids, and then down again overnight. So you can change the profile of the temperature, which you can't do with this. The other thing with a Nest that doesn't work, it does, but it doesn't, is it has a geofencing system. So it knows based on your phone, if you choose to use your phone or wife's phone or both phones or neither phones, it knows when you're home and when you're not home. So if you have the heating on and you leave the house, it turns itself off. And as you get within, I don't know what the parameters are, but say a mile of coming home, it turns the heating back on. So when you walk in the front door, it's already warm. This doesn't do that. Now, neither does the Nest at the moment, because I live in Corfu, which is in Greece, and Nest don't support Greece. So I have to have my address, my registered address for the Nest system is our UK address. We have a flat in the UK that we rent. So of course, if I use the geofencing geolocation system, it would always think I'm out because I'm not in England. So that bit doesn't work so well. But you just need to think about whether a simple switch, cloud-based switch that talks to Amazon, Alexa and Google, is good enough for what you want. €10, 230 euros, you know. For the owners of this villa and the one next door, who are part-time residents here, this is a great solution because it's a low-cost, very low-cost solution, and it gives them the ability to do a few things that you can't do with the existing dumb thermostat. Now, in the winter, if they are not here, particularly for a number of months, It's a good idea to run the central heating occasionally just to keep the damp out of the house, to make sure the boiler fires up, dry things up. Now, currently they pay a management company to send a man round, and he'll come in here and he'll flick the heating on and sit here for 3 hours reading the paper and having a coffee, and then turn it off and leave. This is a cloud-based system, so this can be done anywhere on planet Earth where you have an internet connection. So the owners of this villa and next door can now turn on their heating whilst they're at home in the UK. They can also see what the heating is doing, because obviously this feeds back to the cloud its status, its mode, so they can see if the heating is on or off. So for remote control, global remote control, this is brilliant because you can do it from anywhere. So that's the real advantage, apart from the low cost. €10, did I mention that? Apart from the low cost, they don't really need the Nest system. So this is perfectly adequate. Right, how do you wire one of these in? It's actually really easy. This is a graphical representation, an electrical representation of the downstairs thermostat. It's very, very simple. Line, this is your 240 volt line, and this comes from the boiler supply. We'll look at where that comes from outside. It comes in, the top half is the thermostat, so you have an on and off switch in series with the thermostat. That then goes off to the boiler, call for heat. Off this line, internally, there is another switch, which is the hot water switch, and that goes off to the hot water side of the boiler. Of course, there's no thermostat here, it's just on or off. So, all we're going to do, and it's really, really, really simple, it has a small compromise, but it's really simple. We're going to break this line here, and we will put our Wi-Fi switch in here. So that now becomes a switch, Wi-Fi, and all that will do is turn the power to our thermostat on or off on command. The only compromise, and it's a bit irrelevant, is for it to work with the heating side, the heating switch must always remain on. Not a problem, because I mean, it's a compromise, is it really? You've lost the ability to turn it on and off on the wall, but you can do it on your phone, and you can do it through Alexa, and you can do it through the cloud. So actually, you can do it sitting on the sofa. Hey, Alexa, turn on downstairs heating, rather than having to get up and go and flick a switch. So I don't even think it's a compromise, I think it's a benefit, but that needs to remain on. The problem here, of course, is if the Wi-Fi switch for the heating is open, I also lose the feed to the hot water. So what we do is we have another Wi-Fi switch. Here she is. Connected to the line input again. And it goes in, and it goes in, and that now goes up to the water side of the boiler. Wi-Fi switch for water. So now this switch becomes irrelevant. And what I will do, I'm going to cut this wire here. We'll disconnect it. So now we have, for the heating, the Wi-Fi switch says heating on. This switch is already closed because it always will be. We're taking that out of the circuit. And we're now down to the simple thermostat saying whether it's hot or cold. Perfect. For the hot water, same thing. There's your Wi-Fi switch. You want the hot water on, it closes and it fires up the boiler. So it's really, really easy. All we're going to do is break this existing line and put a Wi-Fi switch in here. And for this one, just add a connection here. And you don't even need to remove this wire, actually. You could leave it in if you wanted to. And that switch would kind of still work, but it might potentially get a bit confusing as to which one's controlling what. So for simplicity, we're going to cut that or remove that wire. That is it. Upstairs is even easier because, of course, the upstairs thermostat doesn't have this water heating part. It's just the top bit. So again, there we go, another Wi-Fi switch, and we cut the lines there. Very, very simple. It's a few wires, and I will show you how that translates outside in the real world. How then does this relate to this and that? Dead straightforward. As I say, this is a simple thing to do. Here is our line in. Here is one Wi-Fi switch, downstairs thermostat. Here is another Wi-Fi switch, that's the water switch, sorry. And there'll be a third one up here for the upstairs thermostat. So there'll be 1, 2, 3, fed from this one line. 1, 2, 3, connected together in a bus bar, fed from one line, here it is. And that's this wire here. So this needs to go to our feed supply. Really simple. We've then got the thermostat. This one's the downstairs thermostat. So we're only talking about sort of thermostat. We'll ignore the water part for the moment. So the power comes into the Wi-Fi switch, then it comes out of the Wi-Fi switch back into the thermostat and the existing wiring. So we'll do, I don't know, whichever up. So here is the up Wi-Fi switch. There is the brown signal wire. So this signal wire is the one I want to connect back to the existing thermostat. Up is this one here because it says up on it. I wrote it on it. And we've got up on here. As it turns out, up is this brown wire here. So we would just simply connect those wires here. The same for down. Here is your down Wi-Fi switch. There's the output wire. And here's your down wire, which connects, in fact, to the black one. The water is kind of even simpler because it doesn't go back through a thermostat. It's just a switch. So with our water Wi-Fi switch, this wire here is actually this wire here and just goes directly into the existing water relay. These Wi-Fi switches are also connected to the up and the down, but they're connected via the thermostats. So you're not messing with anything here. The only one you're changing at the top is the water feed here. In terms of breaking into the system or modifying the system, when you first get it, when you first open this cover, these three wires will be connected. So that is, this one is the line feed, this one is the downstairs thermostat, and this one is the upstairs thermostat. So they will all be connected together, however they are. And all we need to do is separate those and then connect them to these three wires here. The only funny thing is that this line feed, well, it's not funny, it makes sense, but I had initially planned on connecting the line feed just straight into the top of the circuit breaker. But as it turns out, I guess it makes sense. The boiler has a general switch on the front, a master on-off switch, and in fact that feeds this brown wire here, which is the one that was originally connected to the thermostats. Well, and I guess it makes sense because it means that when you turn off the boiler on the switch on the boiler, that one, it disconnects power to the whole system. If I had just wired directly into the top of the breaker, when I turn the boiler off, there would still be power going to the Wi-Fi switches and therefore to the thermostats and potentially to the water pumps. So you would have, if you were working on this system, you think you've turned it off on the boiler and you could still give yourself a nasty zap. Obviously, you should turn it off at the breaker, obviously, which would alleviate that problem. But I understand it, that's how they had it wired originally, so why change it? So all I need to do, put these in, main feeds, common neutrals, fine. Separate three wires, connect three wires. It really is that simple, really, really simple. So I'll do that right now and we'll see it working. I said really simple, just connect three wires. There was that one water wire that I spoke about, I forgot to mention that. So this water wire here, the one that we said we're going to disconnect, is this grey cable down here. Now that originally went into the water relay coil. And all I've done, as you can see, disconnect, and I've just disconnected it and tidied it away in the bottom of the box. You don't need to do that. As I said, you could have both switches working, but I quite like the idea of keeping it simple. You don't touch the thermostat in the house at all. Do it all through the Wi-Fi switches. So we've disconnected that. Easy. Right, last bit. It's all put back together on the wall, if you can see that. So we will turn on the power, and the first thing you'll notice is you get some flashy blue lights. And the flashy blue lights mean that the 3 Wi-Fi switches are now searching for and connecting to the Wi-Fi. You'll see them go solid blue as they connect. There we go. All 3 are now connected to the Wi-Fi. When you initially install this, you will find that those lights are flashing, and you have to go through, as any kind of Wi-Fi product you buy anywhere, whatever it is, it needs to be connected to your Wi-Fi. Very, very simple. When you get these bits of kit, in the packaging there's a little QR code, so QR it with your camera, takes you to a website which gives you a setup procedure. It's very simple. There is only one button on these devices, this little black button here, and it's all done through that, and it's kind of a long press for 5 seconds, light flashes, and then follow the prompts on screen. You will need to download and install the app, obviously. That app is quite good, really. It's the eWeLink app, and as I've just said, you use it to set up your system initially, but it also, not only does it manage the setup and the connection, it's kind of a standalone smart house controller, smart home controller as well. So you can use that to set all of your schedules and profiles for these units, because Sonoff make not only these hardwired switches, they make plug-in plugs, plug-in Wi-Fi plugs, they make bits for lights, they do all kinds of stuff, and that can all be managed through the eWeLink, so that's great. But the real advantage for me and for this owner and next door is that this system works with Alexa, as I alluded to earlier, and also Google Home, and it might be if this then that as well, I'm not sure, but certainly Alexa and Google Home. My home is run by Alexa. The smart side of things is the Nest thermostats are connected to Alexa, the pool pump, the pool lights, the garden lights, the driveway lights are all connected via Alexa. One of the things I like about Alexa, and it may be the same with Google, I've never used it, I don't know, is the ability to control lighting based on your local time of day and your local sunrise and sunset, because of course they change every day, don't they? So our lights are set to come on at sunset and then they turn off at 10 p.m. But Alexa sorts all of that out for me. In the same way, having these connected through Alexa, and I know this homeowner uses Alexa, they can be sitting on the sofa and they can say, hey Alexa, turn on the hot water, turn off the downstairs heating, blah, 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 without getting up from their seat. So that's one of the reasons that I really like this system. There are, of course, various other companies that make this sort of stuff. Sonoff is so cheap. As I said, they're €10 a pop. They're actually, well, that's not true. That's not strictly true. They're €17 each if you buy them individually. If you buy a pack of 5, it's €50 for 5. So we've got 3 here. There are 2 spare ones which we will, at some point, he's going to use for exterior lighting. They've got gatepost lights, so we'll connect one up to that. And the 5th one, maybe the pool lights or the pool pump, or I don't know what. So that little button, used for the setup. It's also useful if you have a Wi-Fi failure or a problem, because you can use that as a manual override. So you see the light is blue. If I just click it, you get the clunk, the light goes red, our water relay has activated, and our water pump is now running. And the boiler will kick in a moment. So you can use that as a manual override as well. So just in case you get a problem. I think that's it for this video. Really cheap, really easy. Not as good as Nest or Hive, but effective in other ways. So yeah, easy. Leave any comments below. Let me know what you think, and if you need any advice, ask me, and we'll see if we can help.